In this tutorial, I'm going to talk a bit about your performance kit and just file organization. I think that really the goal here is that as you're accumulating some knowledge and building things, whether they be synthesis, synthesis engines, some GUIs or some graphic scores or controllers, that sort of thing, that you begin to organize your code in a pretty understandable way. The more you do this as the years go by, you find you go back and it's hard to find things. Maybe you get booked for a gig or something and somebody wants you to play, and you can't figure out where the pieces are. You can't figure out how it works. So this way, it sort of keeps you organized, and keeps you ready to play and use the things that you've made. All right. So for this first time, I'm just going to ask that everyone more or less follow my structure, but then maybe this will mostly just get you thinking about how you should organize your performance kit. I know I can be a bit disorganized myself, and there have been many a times when I've been asked to do a gig and I get there and I'm sitting there digging through my, using Spotlight to try to find my files left and right and not understanding how they work. So better to avoid that, I think, as you're building them. All right. Well, in any case, I've created a folder called Performance Kit, and I've made some folders here: GUIs, scores, and synthesis. I think that would be the main organizational levels. And then I think I'm going to make another one called compositions. Okay. And then, we have a few things that we've done. For example, we have our mouse theremin that I'll stick in our synthesis here. Build a better mouse theremin solution. I'll stick in there. I have my Coolio sort of score for Gangster Paradise, and I'll stick this under scores. I have this postage stamp, this networked postage stamp, and that could be a score or GUI. I think that maybe I'll stick that one in scores, and I'll stick this remote draw. That's the one that follows our mouse. I'll stick that in the GUI because even though we're using it for the postage stamp, it really can be. It's just sending mouse XY data, so it can really be used for a lot of different type of things. It could be an interesting sort of like an XY pad, like a cost pad, or an XY object, GUI object. All right, and let's look at this a little bit closer. Let's see each one a little bit closer. Well, no. First of all, let's talk a little bit about some additional information too. So not only do you want to make this, very clear for yourself, but also we want to be able to perhaps, tell our future self how to do these things, but also maybe another person, like a performer or some such thing. So I would also like you to, for the different bits, include some sort of README file. So we're gonna just have some sort of file, maybe give it some title like using the mouse theremin. And then, we'll have like a sort of 1, 2, 3 type of thing. And I think you should do that for each of your instruments. I mean, I suppose what we have is really we have our mouse theremin, or have our, Gangster Paradise or tune. We have our mouse theremin tunes, and so you might want to make one for that. There's also the postage stamp, so you want to make a different separate README for that. Okay, using the mouse theremin first. Open, and then whatever the file is, blah blah .scd, and then follow instructions, etc., etc. Okay, and then you'll save that as maybe character README, something like that. Okay, where is this? Performance kit, and do something like that. Okay, now you have a README. So I'd say, yeah, if you can include a README for your postage stamp score, include a README also for this mouse theremin karaoke And I think that's about it. Yeah, as far as I can tell. Well, include as many readmes as you think you need. Okay, now I'm just going to go through and just go through each of these and sort of say, give you an idea of how to organize your actual code. So you have your README on your root level that points to the various files. So actually, something like, go into score, something like that. Go into the synthesis folder and open something like that. Okay. All right. So we're going to do that. Okay, and for this is the tutorial, but what I'm going to do is, oops, it's not the right one, is it? Well, in any case, you'll have your Mouse Theremin solution, the one you've designed yourself, and it would be good to grab just a synthDef, okay? And I'll just make a new document here to give you an idea. So this is how I might organize it. Let's say something like boot server, something like that. Okay, and what I would do is everywhere you want to evaluate, I would just include those in brackets. Maybe something like 1 here, 1 boot server, something like that. Okay, and then a command in there as .boot. Okay, and then something like this. And then, give it a title too. This is the Mouse Theremin. And then maybe say something like, we'll just copy this. To send synth to server. Okay. And then something like this, 3 start synth. So just as crystal clear, and if somebody doesn't really understand what to do, they can just sort of look at this and it'll be quite easy to run. In this case, we'll say A equals okay. So something like that would do, and you would save it and make sure that that's the file that I receive. So that's very clear what to do. All right. Now, I'm also going to take this opportunity to show you maybe a little bit about commenting. I also want this code to be well commented. Okay. And so you might, for example, for each of these, include some sort of comment. ARG pitch low sets for pitches, and just go ahead and use as many comments you want, or many lines as you want, or you can use the paragraph commenting / as well if you want. This is in MIDI values and represents the pitch when your mouse is at the bottom of the. So yes, I do actually want very detailed comments, please. And it just shows me that you understand what's going on. So I'd make a comment for each of your arguments in your thing. Okay. I wouldn't worry so much about the variables because these are just sort of placeholders to help you. But for each line, I would make some sort of comment either on the side. You can do a comment here, or you can do on top or on bottom, however suits you best. So I'd say this is this line code. Allow the mouse x value to set, and I guess it looks like we need several lines. Amplitude of 2 between -40 and 10 dB. And go ahead and say, if you use conversions like this dBamp, you can say .dbamp converts the mouse x value to a decibel scale, more conducive to amplitude, something like that. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and really comment everything. So I'd put a comment pitch and tell what that line does. I would put a comment here on this envelope gate and say what that one does. This sets the mouse button to open and close the envelope, etc., etc. And just go ahead and explain the envelope. Explain if there are things within. For example, in here you have envelope gen, but you want to explain what this envelope ASR is and why you choose to make release time an argument, say, and not attack. You're going to really want a detailed commentary, basically almost like a running commentary on everything, each of the lines and what you did. Okay, really demonstrate that you understand and you've created this, and the reasons why you've made it the way you have. Okay, and you might also want to include some potential sound results. So I included this to give a sort of a wobble type of sound, or I include this to try to get some sub bass sound, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's the type of superclatter comments I want you to make, and the processing ones are the same. So we just open one of our GUIs or scores. Let's open up this mouse remote draw. That's very much the same thing. I want some comments for each of these. Even things like these, import the OSC library, okay, for network communication, etc., etc. Okay, so it's not only for my benefit, and so I can assess you, and it's not only for like, say, another performer if they want to look and figure out what's going on or troubleshoot, but it's also really for yourself, actually, because as your code gets bigger and bigger and more complex, and as you learn different things, it's really sometimes hard to keep everything in your memory, and it's very, very common for folks to look back at old code and to really not understand what's going on. And I know I'm guilty of it. I don't necessarily comment everything when I'm busy or I'm trying to work something out. But it's always a good idea to go back, because it saves you a lot of time, and then you can build and you understand what's going on. You can build on it. Okay, so very, very much the same thing. You can say, this initialize the OSC engine, and then things like this, and AG here to the mouse pointer. Okay, that kind of thing. definitely for these for loops, you can say for loop p draws dots. Okay, and then you might want to explain lines within things like this. Every time. And something like, x, y is added to the arrays xs and xys, y's, etc., etc., etc. So you really want to go through and make comments all along for most. I don't know if you want to do every line, but you want to get you want to understand what every bit of code does. Okay, so here, yes, you probably want to say that draws image. Here, for this whole block, you might sort of just put a comment to this block. Sends an OSC message every time I press the mouse, and its purpose is to send to a remote viewer where it will draw a postage stamp graphic or a generated graphic. And continue on. And this is for the release. This changes the color, etc., etc. Okay, so really, this is a very important part. It's going to be a big part of your assessed grade as well, because it shows me how much you understand of what's going on, and it'll help you down the road to look back and say, oh yeah, this is how you do this. Okay. Okay, so that there is the tutorial for both the file organization, create these folders, put things, make some readmes, organize things into each of these folders so you can grab them. Because even though you have these readmes that might start certain pieces, each of these components, for example, the mouse remote draw GUI or these synthesis processes might be used for many different things. Okay, so if they're well commented and they're available, then you can use them for these pieces, but also for other things. And finally, in the composition folder, you're going to want to include the composition that's been assigned. And that's just a text document. But again, in that text document, point to the things that you need to be used and the rules and how to open and run things. So that's important. If any performer, and hopefully will perform your piece as a group, well, each member of the class is going to have to sit down and start up your patches and such, and they need to know how to do that and then what to do once those things are started up. And again, of course, just make sure everything works. All right. Okay, and hopefully that's good enough information for you to keep yourself organized.